This is Marie Bennett from blackberriesandcream.net, and today I'm going to show you how I made this Get Well card. But before we get started with the card, I want to tell you about the products that I'm using in making this card. I'm using Smoky Slate cardstock from Stampin'Up, and I cut it at 5.5 by 8.5 inches and scored it at 4 1/4 for a standard A2 size card. Then on the outside of the card, I'm using this Retired Designer Series paper it's from a pack called Watercolor Wonder, and you can't buy this anymore. It's one of my all-time favorite papers that Stampin' Up! Has ever made, and it's just a basic whisper white with smoky slate dots all over it. And this is my last piece, so I'm sort of in a panic. And I thought, what can I do to make paper similar to this? Because I love it. I use it, well, I've used it up. So I got to thinking about when you buy wood mounted stamps from Stampin' Up, they come in a piece of rubber like this, and you punch out the stamps and mount them on wood blocks. And then you have this left over, this piece of rubber. I never throw this away because I don't throw much away, and I always think, who knows, maybe someday I'll figure out some way to use it. Well, today I came up with a way to use this. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to create my own stamp so that I can recreate this Smoky Slate Designer Series paper, and then I won't ever run out. So what I did was I found a couple of circle punches. This is 1/4 inch, and so I thought, well, maybe I can punch through that if this punch is strong enough. So I put it on and I squeezed really hard like that, and it won't squeeze all the way through. But it does break things up enough that you can kind of poke and work it around until you have a little circle punch. I won't make you watch me struggle, but here's a little round 1/4 inch stamp that I made with that leftover rubber. And then it's really not as big of a stamp as the circles on this paper. It's just a little smaller, so I thought I need a bigger one. So I took my little round 3/8 inch punch from Stampin' Up, and this time, instead of trying to punch through all the layers, I pulled back and separated the foam from the rubber, and slipped that rubber in there like that, and punch it out. Maybe I might have run out of muscles. Okay, you punch it out, you get a nice stamp. It's about the same size as the circles on the paper. And so to mount this on the foam, then I just stuck it back on like that, and then using my little sticky scissors little snips that I have kind of set aside for cutting sticky things, I just kind of cut around the foam like that. So I'm really just making my own little rubber stamp. And then because this foam is sticky on both sides. If you pull back the paper, that side's sticky. If you pull back the rubber, that side's sticky. So to cover up the sticky side, I got out of my drawer one of these label sheets that come when you buy the clear mount stamps. And you don't use it all. And so what I did was I just cut off a piece just like that. Pull it back, and then you separate it and stick it to the back side. Stick it to the back side of your little stamp you just made, and there you have a perfect little stamp to recreate that designer series paper. And because it's the smoky slate, the little smoky slate circles that I just love, so then I just get out my smoky slate ink it up, and it's in various intensities, so if I just kind of stamp around like that on the paper, eventually, after I do enough stamping, I'll have my own designer series paper that's a very close recreation of the one that I love so much. Okay, so I finished the stamping, and it's not exactly the same, but I think it's close enough that I'm going to be happy using my very own designer series paper, using the little stamps that I made. So I hope that gives you an idea for how you can use the leftover rubber and the leftover label papers that you have when you're finished putting your new stamp sets together. Alright, so to make my Get Well card, I'm using two stamp sets. This one is called Thoughts and Prayers, and it's appropriate for Get Well cards and for sympathy cards. And I'm using, two. This stamp set's called Kinda Eclectic. I'm going to be using the little sunburst stamp and both of the butterfly stamps and the leaf stamp. Both the greeting and the sentiment are created using the Pear Pizzazz ink. So on the inside of the card, it's going to say, sending thoughts of love and praying for the Lord to sustain you with bright and restful days. So that's going to go on the inside of the card, and I want the greeting to be somewhat centered on this layer of Whisper White. And then above that, I'm going to stamp just pretty much across the top with this leaf design. I really don't want the stem part of the leaf on my paper, so I'm just going to be stamping off a little, on a little, off a little, just like that. And I don't want them all the same intensity. The one in the middle a little less. Turn it like that. Alright. And then on the, while I've got the Pear Pizzazz out, I'll do the greeting for the outside of the card, which says, wishing you a quick and complete recovery. Get well soon. So I'm just going to stamp that there. Oops. That's why every piece of paper's got two sides. Okay. So I'm going to take this over to the Big Shot, and using this die I'm going to cut that out on the Big Shot. I'll be right back. Okay, so I cut that out on the Big Shot using my die, which I am pretty sure comes from a die set called Apothecary Accents. Okay, while I have my smoky slate ink pad open, I'm going to take my dauber and I'm just going to lightly daub the edges of these two little flowers that I punched using one of those itty bitty accent punches. Very versatile punch set. You get 3 punches in the set. A star, a heart, I think, and this little flower. There. Alright, using my bone folder, I'm just going to curl these flowers a little bit so that when I put them on the label, they'll lift off from the label just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to use my mini glue dots, and I just want a little, I'm going to roll it up a little because I don't want the whole dot showing on this. It's just a little too big for the back of this tiny flower. And then I'm going to stick it right here. And I'll do the same thing with the other flower. I can see I'm going to have trouble working off camera. Okay. There. Now the last thing I want to do to make this greeting complete is put a pearl in the center of each flower. And I like to use my paper piercing tool for this. And these pearls that are like stuck together in a rope, I hardly ever use a whole long line of those. And so I don't want to waste them, so I just use the tip of my paper piercer to cut the adhesive and pull it off that way. So that goes in there. This one goes over here. And now my greeting is ready for the front of the card. Set that aside. Alright, the next thing I would like to work on is, if you look at the card, you see there's a little vellum butterfly right here. And so I want to get him ready. And what I do is punch the vellum with a butterfly punch, just the smallest of the Stampin' Up! Butterfly punches. Give it a little squeeze in the middle, and then on this crease line I'm going to stick 3 of these little pearls. Maybe. Right there. Alright, now my little butterfly is ready to go. Okay, so we've got the greeting and the butterfly ready for the card. So and the inside is, not quite done. We've got the leaves stamped on there. Now we need to do the butterflies, and I used So Saffron for the yellow on this card. Everything that's in yellow is in So Saffron. So we'll finish the inside layer of the card, and then we'll move to the cover. Alright, so for the inside I used the small butterfly from this Kinda Eclectic stamp set. This one right here. And I think I put a couple of them full strength and a couple of them I stamped off before I stamped the page. So one full strength and then one part, and then another full strength one over here and part of one here, and then stamp off and right here. Okay. So the inside of the card is ready now too, Okay, now on my designer series paper I want to stamp this sunburst right here. So, and that is in So Saffron also. And I'm not going to use the whole stamp, so I didn't get out my big stamping block that this starburst fits on, or sunburst I mean. I'm just going to do right here in the corner so that part of the center of the sun shows, but not the whole thing. So you can see just part of the sun is shining down. Alright. Now I'm going to take the big butterfly stamp in So Saffron, and I want it to be toward, like below the greeting, right down here. And that's the only big butterfly stamp I'm going to use. Then I want another one maybe kind of like right here, and another one up toward the top. So I need my Pear Pizzazz again, and I'm just going to kind of create some leaves around. And I do not want the full strength Pear Pizzazz. I want it to be kind of muted, so I'm going to stamp off every time. Alright, so I have my tea lace doily and my designer series paper background, and I'm ready to start assembling this card. So I'm just going to position this doily where I like it, and then fold it around the back. Give it a good crease. And then, don't you just love, I love both sides of this page. I wish they were making more. We all have our favorites though. Okay, so I'm going to do that again, get it where I want it, fold it around and stick it on the back. Alright. There. Then just a little dab right here to hold that down. Alright, now where this butterfly is, that's where this little vellum guy goes. Just right there. So I need another glue dot. Roll it up. Like that. Just make a little roll. Stick it on the back. In the middle. It'll be hidden by the pearls. And then center it over this big butterfly. Okay. The greeting is held on with dimensionals. And because this this greeting is kind of long, I like to put on extra dimensionals. So one in each corner, and one in the middle, or two in the middle since they're stuck together. There we go. One in each corner and two down the middle, and then I'm not going to have to worry about this greeting sagging down toward the card. there. Alright. Then the inside of the card is adhered with snail adhesive. I give my snail the check mark just like they do the fast views, and I find I have less of the little balls of snail glue gathering. Okay, there you have it. A nice get well card. Hope you've gotten some ideas watching this video. I'm real happy I came up with the idea of making my own little rubber stamps out of the leftover rubber, and I've even been thinking that like if I wanted to make a background, like a shadow stamp for one of my label punches, or a shadow stamp for really any punch I've got, I could just punch it out of this leftover label or leftover rubber and really add to the versatility of my stamp sets doing that. Well, thanks for watching, and if you need any Stampin' Up! Supplies, please go to my 24/7 online store at blackberriesandcream.net. You can follow the link below this video, and hope to see you again soon. Happy stampin'!